Welcome back, and joining me now is Democratic Senator Ruben Gallego of Arizona. Senator Gallego, welcome to Meet the Press.
Good morning.
Thank you so much for being here. Let's start where I left off with the Treasury Secretary and the shutdown. Federal workers have now missed their first full paycheck. Democrats are demanding that any deal to reopen the government include an extension of those Obamacare subsidies, which are set to expire at the end of the year. Early enrollment starts November 1st. Senator, are you prepared to keep up this fight through November 1st when early enrollment starts?
Look, our focus right now is to keep costs low. You just heard Secretary Bessent, and he had this long economics professor explanation about inflation right now. It's bad out there. If you go to the grocery store, people aren't buying as much. Food is still high. Energy is high. And now we're going to add health insurance costs on top of that. What we're asking is for the president to take a leadership position, for Mike Johnson to bring back Congress, and let's work at a real compromise. And that compromise will look with some type of reform to the ACA. We get that. We understand that. But we need to assure Americans do not have their inflation, do not see their insurance premiums double overnight. And that's what's going to happen unless Republicans work with us to stop that.
But how long are you prepared to stick out this fight? Past November 1st? Past Thanksgiving?
I'm not looking at a timetable. I'm looking at everyone's personal pocketbook right now.
Do you rule that timetable out, though?
I rule any timetable out right now. What I rule and what I focus on right now is trying to keep costs low. Right now, again, everything is just hurting. You know, they talk about the price of rent. It's not going down. It's actually staying stable in some areas, but most of areas it's going up. We're seeing auto loans are now largely in default. Largest ever it's had been in quite a while. And we're going to go back and add, again, insurance premiums doubling for 24 million Americans. That is a decision that the Republicans are going to make, and then they have to own for the next year. And I'm not quite sure that a lot of Republicans in swing districts understand what they're about to do.
Well, you talk about hurting. I do want to play you something that one furloughed federal worker had to say as she lined up outside of a food bank in Maryland. Those lines are getting longer. Take a listen.
It's pretty difficult. You know, you're trying to figure out how you're going to, pay your bills, eat, but I mean, you have to make a way. So so that's why I'm here today, to see what the options are as far as, food options we can get today.
Senator, how do you explain to federal workers like the woman who we just heard there, continuing this shutdown?
Yeah.
They feel like they are being punished and caught in the middle. Why not make a deal now?
Well, look, and we've actually tried. Just last week, we introduced a bill to actually pay all federal workers through the shutdown, and it was not even given a vote. The Republicans came down and stopped the unanimous consent, which would have been a very clean bill saying no matter who you are, as long as you're a federal employee, you're going to get paid while we work this out. But let's also talk about the fact that 24 million Americans are going to have to pay double their premiums for a whole year or even longer, right? We're going to be able to pay a lot of these federal workers back. Actually, we've done in the past. But once these rates set in, once November 1st comes along, you're seeing people that are going to see rates double. And like, I'll give you a good example. In Arizona, a family of four, it's going to jump almost $3,500. That's $7,000 someone's going to have to pay for their health insurance. There's not many families in this country do not have enough room for them to be able to afford that big of a jump.
All right, let me ask you about another key issue. You heard me talk to the secretary about this. The military now launching 10 attacks against what they have described as suspected drug boats. This is happening largely in the Caribbean. They've killed more than 40 people so far. President Trump saying he may even order land strikes into Venezuela with or without congressional approval. He was asked about it this week. Take a listen.
I don't think we're going to necessarily ask for a declaration of war. I think we're just going to kill people that are bringing drugs into our country. Okay? We're going to kill them. You know, they're going to be like dead.
The Trump administration insists these strikes are consistent with international law. Do you agree with that?
No, it's murder. It's very simple. If this president feels that they're doing something illegally, then he should be using the Coast Guard. If there's an act of war, then you use our military, and then you come and talk to us first. But this is murder. It's sanctioned murder that he is doing that. And it's very simple for someone like him to talk about killing people or doing something in the name of war. He's never actually served. He's never actually pulled a trigger. And it's very dangerous what he's doing, both to our international relations, to our friends down in South America, and to these men and women that have to make these calls for a president who has zero understanding about the responsibility someone has when it comes to having to make life and death decisions. It's disgusting what he's doing.
Okay, he says he will brief Congress. We'll see how that unfolds. I do want to ask you about something that has gotten a lot of attention nationwide, the destruction of the East Wing of the White House. It was demolished to make space, of course, for President Trump's ballroom. It's a move that has sparked some backlash from Democrats, even from some Republicans. Former Republican Congressman Joe Walsh said this. I'm going to read you part of it. Quote, I will repeat this every single day for the next 3 years. Any Democrat running for president in 2028 must pledge to immediately tear down, bulldoze, demolish Trump's ballroom and fully restore the East Wing. Is that overstated, or would you agree with that any Democrat who becomes the next president, if and when that were to happen, they should tear down whatever changes Trump makes?
No, I think to really mess with him, just name it the Barack Obama ballroom, and I think that will take care of half the problem.
So don't tear it down. Don't
more importantly,
changes.
This is a distraction. First of all, he should not have done that. It's the people's house. Number two, where is the president? He's focusing on the ballroom. He's focused on everything, but he's not focused on what's happening right now. Inflation's still high. People can buy what they need to buy. Energy's still high. We have tariff wars that are being caused because he feels icky and feels bad about someone talking bad about him in a commercial. And inflation's about to double for 24 million Americans, and that's what he cares about. This is Marie Antoinette talking about let them eat cake while Americans are struggling right now. So what I would like for him to do is to focus on this to make sure that we can actually get costs down. People can actually make, a good standard of living right now and be able to pay what they need to survive instead of him focusing on all these little projects, which aren't really bringing anything to help everyday Americans.
Let's talk about the future of your party on the same night that you won your Senate race in 2024 in Arizona. Vice President Kamala Harris lost that state. In a new interview, she is saying that she is open to potentially running for president again. Senator, let me ask you, do you think that Vice President Kamala Harris would be a strong candidate in 2028?
I thought she was a strong candidate in 2024. I think there's a lot of strong candidates in 2028. I think she would be a strong candidate also in 2028. And that's going to be left up to the primary voter to decide. But
would you encourage Vice President Kamala Harris to run?
I would probably talk to a lot of candidates and see where they are. I can't say I'll encourage her right now because I want to see what her policy positions are, make sure they align with the voters of Arizona, make sure it's a winning message. But I wouldn't rule it out.
Okay, and you've gotten a little bit of buzz. Would you rule out a run yourself? Are you thinking about it in 2028?
Well, as I was just telling you earlier, first I got to take care of these 3 kids and deal with getting us through 2026, bringing back inflation down, making sure that 24 million Americans do not have their insurance rates doubled starting November 1st. And then maybe all after that, I'll start thinking about something like that.
Okay, so not ruling it out.
Okay.
Senator Gallego.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate it.
We thank you for watching. And remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.